And also check out Proxima, the Alice Wintour film dropped last year, but hit video on demand just recently, starring Eva Green and Matt Dillon. Those are probably the two big
Yeah.
names, I guess.
Hmm.
And this is a it's sitting at like 81% Rotten Tomatoes. And after it ended last night, I found myself just being like, "Huh, this was really not at all what I thought it was going to be." And it's funny because I think we've watched a lot of space movies in the last, I don't know, decade. I guess that
Yeah.
feels like a ton of them,
Yeah.
and almost all of them are focused on what happens out there. And this is very much a story about everything but space, where space is really just like the final end point. Um, Pretty interesting. How did you feel watching Proxima and just kind of about what you were expecting versus what you got?
Yeah. To that point, it has a lot of the DNA of another French film, a film from a French director, High Life, as well as even
Uh-huh.
stuff like First Man Ad Astra, where it's really the movie is really more concerned about the psychological aspects of space on its characters. Now, those three movies still happen in space. Proxima's even taking it a step further, as you said. And it's funny to watch this now, given the year we're watching this, because space TV is big right now. Avenue 5, Space Force, For All Mankind, the debut show on Apple TV Plus, Away, the Netflix show with Hilary Swank, The Right Stuff on Disney Plus, Moonbase 8 on Showtime just came out. Right? There's a lot of these space shows, most of them comedies, most of them not very well received. And yet you get this movie Proxima, which is coming to us late. Like this played in France about a year ago, right? Like this
Mm.
already was nominated at the Caesar Awards, the French Oscars in early 2020. Eva Green was nominated for Best Actress. This is old news to Europe, but to us, it's like, oh wow, more space things, cool. And definitely my favorite space thing of all the things I just mentioned. As a big fan of First Man, I quite enjoy Proxima because I like seeing that psychological stuff. And in this one, I think like because it's really specific about like connecting with your family and how you will lose that connection when you literally leave the planet for a year, right? Like it's a simple problem, but seeing it played out, I think is pretty effective. And like I think it's a simple line, almost a predictable line, kind of late in the movie where it's like um, the hard part isn't leaving, the hard part's coming back because time keeps going or something along those lines. And I'm like, wow, yeah, again, simple premise, but I think it's done pretty well in this. The movie was shot on location at Star City in Moscow and the European Space Agency in Cologne, so it really is convincing as a modern day movie about astronauts. And Eva Green's central performance, I think, really sells the kind of quiet conflict that something like this has and how actually really plausible something like this is. So I liked it a lot.
Yeah, the shooting on location, I think, really added an element to it because there's that scene, I think, when they like walk up to like the back end of a rocket, and it, like, actually just it's just a real rocket, and I was like, this is like one of the most convincing sets I've ever seen. Like, this is unbelievable. And then I saw that they shot on location and made more sense, but it looks great. It feels hyper realistic. And you mentioned all those space movies. I think the one it comes back to most for me is actually like the first like 40 minutes of Interstellar,
Sure. Yeah.
before
Same thing.
Matthew McConaughey goes into space. Yep, and it's all him and his little girl, and like what's gonna be like when he goes up there. And I think that this obviously portrays it in a much more realistic way, and it kind of walks you through a lot of the things that you might not really think about that these people have to plan for and go through, especially being a single mom, or I guess not a single mom necessarily, but like a divorced parent who takes care of their child as the primary caregiver. That's a whole nother challenge. And balancing the sacrifice that you make to be a parent with chasing your own dreams and goals, I thought was an interesting question at the center of this. And you mentioned that like quiet conflict Eva Green has is she's kind of propelled forward by Matt Dillon's like asshole astronaut, like,
Yeah.
giving her little barbs in the side and pushing her forward. You kind of just see it like growing and growing until it finally starts to like break down closer to the end of the movie. I thought it was a really great performance from her. What was the last thing you saw her in, Eva Green?
I was thinking about that too. I think her biggest stuff of late was probably Penny Dreadful, the show. I haven't watched that, but I mean, to me, the biggest Eva Green thing is still more or less the first
Bond.
Eva Green thing, which would be Casino Royale, Vesper Lynd,
Yeah.
classic
Yeah.
Bond girl.
I thought out of those four, she was probably my favorite one too. She's really great in that role, and she's great in this role as well. I'm wondering for you, what were like the moments that you look to and you're like, that was like what made this movie what it was? Are there any like particular scenes or moments?
I think the Matt Dillon character, at least the way it's set up early on, it is really effective because it's initially like just kind of like blatant misogyny in the workplace, but then also like kind of like the belittling stuff where it's like this very well could be a well-intentioned, more or less good person, but this is again the kind of stuff that women face in certain competitive fields, right? Like it felt very accurate, unfortunately. I actually, upon reflection, think that he kind of comes around in the film in terms of his relationship with Eva Green, Sarah. That seemed to be kind of quick. Like they never had a reckoning, right? Like he just seemed to respect her more, I guess, as she proved herself in training. Like that maybe seemed a little quick to me or kind of glossed over. But yeah, I mean, I think just kind of the mood you get from the locations throughout really sells it. And those scenes with the daughter are throughout are really good because of the writing. The like Stella, she says some like really pointed, almost morbid things early on to her mom, like, "Are you gonna die before me?" Right? And like, and you understand this like disassociation that's happening between the mother and the child, and like just kind of seeing that happen and completely understanding why it's happening. Those are the things that I think sell it to me the most. And I think this is kind of like one of the best examples of like, again, stuff like this. You don't actually go to space, but you do this well, and it's really effective. I think there was that there was that one season of that other show, I think a year and a half ago, the Sean Penn Hulu show, The First, kind of a similar thing where it's almost like more about the melodrama of preparing to leave Earth, and that show is about going to Mars. But from what I understand about it, Proxima is much more effective in actually selling that, and I think part of that's because it's really small scale, but for what it's going for, I think it's really well done. I think the writing is like sneakily like really effective. And Alice Winnicor did actually co-write Mustang, which was the French Best Foreign Language Film nominee in 2015. So there is a bit of pedigree with this film.
Yeah, Alice Winnicor seems like a bit of a rising star, so definitely someone I think we'll be hearing more from. And I agree. I think the scenes, especially like when the little girl like runs away, right, and they kind of chase her down. And they scream at or yelling at each other like, "You scared me," and like I forgot what the little girl said back, but it's like really cutting, and you're just like the amount that like it's been building silently in both of these two, and especially like through the phone calls, you can kind of hear it in their like tone really well.
She won't speak French back to her; she's only speaking German instead. The language of her dad.
All the like passive aggressiveness. Yep. Finally, like coming to the surface is just really really strong. And this did have like a very like sweet ending to it. And I also loved how they kind of tied in like the real life female astronauts who are mothers who have also gone through this, and this movie is dedicated to them. So just I thought overall a really great watch, and probably an under the radar film for Americans, but I'm hoping people find it for sure.
Yeah. Looking back on the 2020 Caesar Awards, Eva Green was nominated for Best Actress alongside both Adele Haenel and Naomi Merlant from Portrait of a Lady on Fire. None of the three actually won the award. It was won by Aeneas Demostier in Alice and the Mayor, a movie I haven't seen. But
Was that the one where they all like walked out because of Ronan Farrow?
uh, that did happen at that awards. Yes, I
Yeah, I
don't
was gonna
know
say.
in what it was relation to. I don't remember, but it was about something. Oh, it was about
Yeah.
Roman Polanski winning Best Director.
Yeah,
That's what
Ronan
happened.
Farrow, Roman Polanski, Ronan Farrow, good guy. Roman Polanski,
Ronan
not so
Farrow
good.
very connected to the Woody Allen scandal. That's what
Yes, yes,
shitty
and
Hollywood people easy to getting confused.
um, any last thoughts? Proxima, watch it, VOD it.
VOD it, man. Normal rental price. Check it out. It's definitely low radar here in America,
Yes,
considering it's been a long time for it finally coming here. I'm not actually sure why it took this long to come to us, but the reverse happens to people or outside the world, so we're not allowed to complain about that.
especially with the holidays coming up, folks, you're going to be maybe with people. I don't know if with COVID that's going to be something a lot of people are doing, but if you want to have a movie, you can really sound like you know what you're talking about with recommendation. This is a pretty good one, so check it out.